Hi, everybody who's joining us. We're just going to get started shortly. Um, but thank you so much for joining us today. We're just going to wait for a few more people to join the presentation and then we'll get started. And feel free to say hello in the chat and where you're joining us from. That's great. I see some India, Brazil. Wonderful. We'll just give it a few more minutes. Hello from China, Nigeria. Great. So I won't say good morning or good afternoon because everybody's in a different time zone. So just wanted to say thanks so much for joining us. Um, we'll just give it a few more minutes, a few more seconds, I should say, and then we'll get started. Okay. So today's webinar is about career service and employability. So now that most of everybody has joined, we will get started. So Sandra, if you could kick us off with the next slide, please.
Sure.
So just some kind of housekeeping webinar reminders as you're joining us this morning or this afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Please keep your microphone muted for the entire presentation. Feel free to utilize the chat to say hello and where you're joining us from and share any questions, but make sure those questions are general in the chat. So if you have specific questions that you'd like us to address, about you and your individual case or situation, you can absolutely contact us directly about those. And our email is on the screen there. So it's DCU Global Recruitment at dcu.ie. And so today we have DCU recruitment representatives joining us. So Bridget Carey is on the chat, and she will be answering some of your questions as well. She's our DCU Global Recruitment Manager. And then my name is Colleen Griffin, and I'm the Senior International Recruitment Officer for North America. And so we both thank you for joining us today.
Great to see everybody. Thanks for joining us.
And today's webinar presenter is Sandra Gibney, and she is a career service consultant here at DCU. And so we're delighted to have her with us today to share a little bit more about the resources here on campus within the Career Services Department. So we will pass it over to Sandra.
Thank you, Colleen. Thanks very much and welcome everybody. It's great to see so many people on the call. I'm just going to go through some slides here and just go through really what the Career Service has to offer international students coming to DCU to study. And hopefully as a career, I'm one of 5 career consultants based here in the Career Service. So hopefully I get to meet some of you along the way if you decide to come here to study. So I suppose, I'll just get into it here now, just bear with me. Okay, so I suppose what is our ethos, and what are we all about here in terms of the Career Service? So really our main focus here is to empower students with the knowledge, skills and resources necessary in order to make informed career decisions going forward. And we do this in a number of different ways. So we do it maybe via one-to-one career guidance and coaching. We do it through classroom-based lectures, and equally then as well with workplace skill sessions, mentorship programs, employer events and other online resources. I suppose it's trying to prepare the student, trying to leave you that you have the confidence to move forward in terms of your career plan going forward. And we hope that we can utilize all the skills we have and that you can utilize the service that we offer in order to make you more confident as you work through your career pathway going forward. Okay, so how do we do that? So I suppose we do it in a number of different ways. I'm one of 5 career consultants based in the service. There are dedicated career consultants for each faculty. So if you're doing business, or if you're doing, in my case, I look after computing and engineering and School of Communications. So if you're following any of those degrees, we have sector knowledge basically for each of those different areas. So it's a really good a good resource, I suppose, because we're constantly linking in with employers in that particular area and in those particular sectors. So it's really good to have those dedicated career consultants for your faculties. We provide support in terms of exploring career options to follow on after your degree. And we give you, I suppose, the tools again to show to you what exactly roles are open to you with your degree as well. We also provide online psychometric and career assessment tests. And again, I would encourage, if you do decide some of those, to tap back in, book in for those one-to-one appointments, to come back in and discuss them in more in depth with your career consultant. Again, interview preparation, including mock interviews and tips on answering interview questions. Really important one. If anybody out there is getting offers of interviews, do use the career service to help you prepare for those interviews. And again, it's all about trying to give you the hints and tips that will allow you to showcase what you can offer to employers and what skills and what attributes you can bring to any role, and we can help you do all of that. Also, equally then, we provide one-to-one CV review, cover letter reviews, and all of those type of things as well. So again, just trying to give you, I suppose, the tools and to give you constructive feedback on how best to showcase the skill set that you have. And again, if some of you maybe are feeling a bit lost and not knowing exactly what way you want to go in terms of degree afterwards, we can provide that one-to-one tailoring advice and guidance to help you on your way in terms of that too. Okay, so I suppose there are 4 really main different strands I would see in terms of what we offer as a career service. And I suppose they're broken down into workshops and events, the online services and online resources that we have, the employer engagement piece, which again is really, really important, and then the individual career guidance that we provide as well, and help that we can give you on an individual basis. So I suppose just starting out on the workshop piece of it, again, variety of workshops across semester 1 and semester 2. And again, we deliver workshops on how to prepare a CV, cover letter, interview skills, that whole networking piece, how to make the most of your LinkedIn profile, how to go about looking for jobs and the job search strategies, how to build your own personal brand. And then equally then at different events, we'd invite employers maybe in just to talk about their industry. So that gives you an opportunity to hear what employers are looking for out there from their potential employees and from the graduates from DCU. And then one that we have as well is the International Students Bootcamp. Now we do this every year because again, we understand that it can be challenging sometimes for international students coming into a new country and kind of get I suppose an idea of how it all works. So every year we run an international student bootcamp, whereby we have lots of different events over the week. It's purely focused on the international students. And within that, then we'd offer different things. So the first thing we would do is ICOS is the Irish Council for International Students here in Ireland. We invite them in because they're the visa experts. They can answer any queries you have in relation to the visas. Again, it's something that comes up all the time, and we would direct you to them as well to kind of address any of the queries you might have with them. So they deliver usually in on day 1. We open up lots of different appointments for if you want to come and get the CV reviewed or cover letters or whatever that might be. We also deliver lots of different workshops that week, again, just geared at the international students. So again, in terms of the networking piece and all of that, how to build a CV, all of the different areas that we cover off within that. And finally, as part of that week then as well, we invite former international students or alumni to come back into the career service. And as part of that, we'd have a panel event whereby they can tell their story. And that can be a really interesting and a really worthwhile event for international students to hear what their journey was like, and to give you some really good concrete hints and tips as to how you might progress going forward. So that's definitely worth attending. That's normally run first week in February in semester 2. And again, I would really, really encourage you to try and get involved with that and try and participate in that as well. Okay, so the next one then is the online career. I suppose, again, we have so many array of resources on the online platform here at DCU. We have our jobs board, and the jobs board advertises external roles, graduate opportunities and internships. And again, all those employers that we work with here in DCU, they post their vacancies on that jobs board. So you get to see those opportunities as they go live. So this platform is also brilliant because it houses all the events that we have. And equally then, if you're booking in appointments or whatever, you will do it on this same platform here as well. So it's a really good platform with everything contained on this. So again, lots of different resources in terms of guides, booklets, podcasts, all around those type of areas: career planning, networking, interviews, or you can see them all there. Just lots of different resources there to help you along your way when you're trying to pull everything together. Okay, and then the final part, I suppose, of the pillar of what we are about is really this employer engagement piece. And I suppose the Career Service collaborates regularly with employers. So like I said earlier, I would be constantly meeting with people from the School of Computing, School of Engineering, School of Communications. So, and the same with my colleagues as well in the Career Service. So we're keeping up to date with what's happening out there in terms of the recruitment needs and the trends. And I suppose our main annual event is the flagship event really, which is the Careers Fair that happens every year. And then with this, then we have circa 90 companies that will come on campus, and they'll exhibit and offer opportunities to our students and graduates. So they want to recruit DCU students. They come here because they want to recruit DCU students. And as part of that whole process, prior to this particular event, we in the Career Service will deliver lots of group sessions to students across all faculties, whereby we will help prepare you. It can be a bit daunting sometimes walking into a big room full of employers and maybe not knowing what I should ask and what I shouldn't ask. So in order to help you prepare, we deliver sessions prior to those events with suggestions as to questions you might ask, what to give you a handle really on the type of employer that would be there, and what is the correct, I suppose, protocol that you might use with them. Again, it's a really good opportunity, that Careers Fair as well, just to see what's out there, what's on offer, and what employers are looking for in their potential candidates. Okay, I'm going to briefly just talk about employability because it's a really important one, just even in terms of what employers are looking for. And while I suppose, you know, you think, okay, I have my degree, I have my technical background or whatever that is, that's great, and that's really, really important. But equally, employability skills are really important here. So it refers to a combination of skills, knowledge, and personal attributes that make an individual more likely to secure and succeed in employment. It is crucial for students to focus on enhancing their employability to increase their chances of success when applying for jobs. So like I said, it goes beyond the academic qualifications, and it's really, really important in terms of your career going on when you start applying for those jobs. Employers come back and tell us all the time they are looking for the candidates who are strong with those employability skills. The feeling would be that we can teach people anything when they come out into the workplace, but if you need to have these attributes, you need to be able to demonstrate them. So in terms of what they are and what they look for, these are pretty much, so communication skills, teamwork and collaboration, problem solving, adaptability, leadership. These are all the type of things that employers are consistently telling us that they want to see in those potential candidates. So I would encourage any of you who are considering coming to DCU that to think about these early on. Don't wait until the end of the year or the end of your 4 years or whatever stage you're coming in at to build on these employability skills. Start from the outset and think, okay, how am I going to go about building these? Because they're really, really important when you get to that job application stage. So how do you go about doing it? Well, firstly, I think to sit down and think to yourself, okay, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And be honest with yourself in terms of where do you feel you need to develop a little bit further? Where have you got some exposure, but you feel that you could be a bit stronger in that particular area? So set goals for that skills development. Example would be teamwork. And teamwork is something that employers constantly come back and say that they're looking for, and that they want people who turn up at interview to be able to demonstrate to them. So practice collaborating with others in groups is a way of doing that. Volunteering initiatives, being involved in team sport. Being a team player is highly, highly valued in the workplace. So again, if you have part-time jobs or whatever, being able to demonstrate how you had to work as part of that team is really, really important. I would also encourage you to attend any workshops, skill sessions delivered by the Career Service or across the university. Again, the careers fair, like I mentioned earlier, any employer events, they'll be well flagged to all students. So try and attend those where possible as well. If you're doing an internship as part of your degree, again, it's a really good opportunity to showcase those employability skills and to build on those employability skills. And if you're doing part-time jobs, same thing again, volunteering options, the International Student Bootcamp, and then networking. I'm going to touch on networking briefly a little bit later on. Okay, so then in terms of what are the employment opportunities after your degree? So I'm briefly just going to touch on these. So I suppose what's on offer here. So when graduates are finished after 4 years, or even if it is a master's, the larger companies generally offer graduate programs. So they're structured graduate opportunities usually offered by large employers and are open to all final year and postgrad students. They're usually in finance, manufacturing, science, engineering, IT technology, and the retail sector. And the duration of the program is often 18 to 24 months. So during which time you get to rotate across different functions of the company, or you may stay in one area. I suppose it's important to say that these aren't automatically, you're not automatically going to get these. The process is that you make an application, and if your application is successful, then you're invited for interview. And then if you're successful at interview, you're offered one of these programs. That's generally how it works. I suppose the expectation is here that, you know, it's about that employability skills, but you're not expected to have hands-on work experience in that particular area. The graduate program is designed for people coming straight from college who don't necessarily have that work experience in that particular area. So it's important to remember that. Entry-level positions are another option. Again, they're open to graduates as well and can vary depending on field of study and qualifications. But equally, the same process applies here. You apply for those jobs, you send in an application form or your CV. So that's where it's all important to have those really professional, have them at a high standard. And then you are hopefully called for interview. You go into interview, and if you're successful at interview, you get offered a job. That's generally how it works. Okay, the next one then is, if some of you maybe are out there, are coming in and you're doing maybe a master's or whatever, you have a lot of experience. And we have a lot of international students who come to DCU who bring an awful lot of experience, a wealth of actually experience with them. And for some of you, you might be thinking more of the experienced professional roles. Again, there are lots of them out there, but equally it's about doing that research as well ahead of do it early. Don't wait until you're ready to start applying when you've finished your master's. So the type of job sites that job websites that you'll be looking with: Irish Jobs, www.jobs.ie, LinkedIn Jobs, again, really good one. And if you're applying for experienced roles, you really need to get in, research that roles. And I would say even look at those now if you're coming in on a master's with a lot of experience. What type of role are you hoping to get into? Have a look at them, focus on that job description and think, okay, what are they looking for here? What's the common trend coming through here? What do I need to do in order to develop those skills? So you may have the technical experience and you may have the academic experience, but equally remember those what are the competencies, the employability skills that they're looking for, and do I need to do something during my time in DCU in order to develop those? So again, I reach out for help with those CVs before you start sending out for jobs. You really need to showcase your experience. And sometimes we find that maybe international students have so much experience, like I say, and maybe are selling themselves a little bit short. So to reach out and get the feedback on whether or not you're showcasing your experience to the level that you should be at. And the final thing there is networking, and networking is really important here, especially for those guys, for those of you who are coming in with experience. Networking can be key. And I'm just going to, I suppose, in terms of what things you can do while you come into DCU at the outset. Events and conferences. Eventbrite, if you go on to Eventbrite, there are so many events and conferences. A lot of them are free, and I would encourage you to sign up to some of those. So the industry that you're interested in, sign up to those, try and get to attend some of those events. There's some of them online, but there's a lot of them back in person at the moment. Careers fair, again, really important. Get and talking to employers, see what they're looking for and see what opportunities they have. If it is graduate roles and you're not thinking of graduate roles, when you go to the careers fair, you can still have that conversation with those employers at the careers fair to see what else is on offer. Another good option really is join up meetups. It's a really good one as well, just in terms of there's lots of different groups out there aligned with different industries as well, can be really beneficial in terms of building your network. Volunteering piece, part-time work as well. And again, remembering, you know, when you're doing the volunteering or when you're doing your part-time job, there are loads of people within those roles that you're currently doing who have connections in different areas. So trying to be open-minded and think, okay, who can I network here? And it's not necessarily about looking for a job, but it's looking for it's looking for guidance from somebody who's maybe in the industry. So again, clubs, societies, all of these people have different links in different things. So again, it would really encourage you to join up to the clubs and societies in DCU as well when you arrive here. Again, hobbies and interests, really good, really important, and really good to be able to network with people in those particular areas. And of course, social media, LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, following groups in the industry that you're interested, looking even at former graduates from your degrees and seeing, okay, where are they at this point in time? Could you reach out to them on LinkedIn? Again, we're asking for a bit of guidance, a bit of direction, not necessarily looking for jobs, but it's a really useful tool. And there is an alumni tool on LinkedIn where you could go in and look at former graduates from DCU and see where they ended up. And again, just trying to get a little bit of knowledge around their story and how they went about doing different things. Okay, so just getting to the end, and I suppose to be aware from terms of your next steps coming here, I would say the employability, transferable skills. Remember, you could transfer, so your transferable skills can be moved in different directions all of the time, and it's really, really important to develop them from the outset. Grad Ireland Pathways Workflow have a really, really good resource, and it's all around the labour market in Ireland. It's a free online learning tool. I really encourage you to go in and use it. And they give a step-by-step learning, online learning, and explain to you exactly what employers look for and what the process here is in Ireland. Again, just go back to that networking, to start to network, continue to network if you're doing so already. Develop your CV and LinkedIn profile. And I think that's really important to kind of see, okay, what way is this the structure here? Again, when we talk to students, we're telling them what employers are telling us. So we're trying to pass on that knowledge. And equally, so tapping back into the career service, looking at the resources that are there, really important before you start sending out those CVs. So you want them to be out of a high standard, looking really professional and showcasing all the skills that you have. Again, you encourage you utilize the resources that are available in the career service, and of course we're here to help you on your journey all of the way. Irish Council for International Students, if you have any queries around the whole visa and the working practices and everything else, I would definitely say reach out to the Irish Council of International Students. Really, really helpful, and they're the experts in that area. So I hope I've given you some sort of an insight into what we do as part of the career service. We're really here to support you, and hopefully with all the tools and everything else, if you can get the opportunity to attend as many events as you possibly can, use the resources that are available to you, you will be able to, I suppose, research for roles. You'll be able to step out in confidence and hopefully secure the roles if you're hoping to seek employment here in Ireland going forward. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Sandra. I really appreciate all that thorough overview of, the resources that are available here on campus and the way students can reach out and all of the important things to keep in mind both before they arrive and as soon as they are here on campus for career searches, either now or in the future. So I know Bridget has been manning the chat there and answering some questions. But Bridget, if you want to share any questions that have come up with Sandra.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Colleen. And thank you so much, Sandra. I think that was a really informative session and hopefully provided students with some good foundational knowledge in terms of what they might be facing when they come to DCU. And, it's often when we're out attending events or meeting with students, this is always such a major question that they have when they're considering studying overseas and what that kind of employability landscape looks like. And, it's really, I suppose, a positive story for us to tell from a DCU perspective in terms of all of the support and resources that are there. And so it's really good to kind of encapsulate that for students. And I think two of the main things that really came out for me in your presentation were really around that aspect of self-motivation and really kind of taking, control over your job search and what you might do at an early stage and not waiting until the very end. Just a lot of times we see students who maybe are so focused on getting here and their studies, which is what they should be focused on, but you also have to balance that with sort of your future aspirations and what you want to do. So taking the time to kind of think about that at an early stage and making sure that you do a lot of research. We have a lot of resource and a lot of support there, but ultimately it's on you as an individual in terms of where you're going to go and what you're going to do. And that's going to require work on your end. A lot of times students kind of say, oh yeah, do you help me find a job or do you help me kind of get a position? And well, we're there to support you as much as possible. It's really on you as the student to kind of put yourself out there, make sure you are doing the networking, you are doing the research, and you're getting through all of that. So I think those were really important points that you made there, Sandra. I really appreciate you kind of doing that. And, I always tell students as well, you get out of an experience what you put into it. So the more that you can kind of put yourself out there and maybe step outside your comfort zone in some of those things, the more return you're going to get on that. So I think those are just all good lessons to really kind of think about as you prepare for this upcoming adventure at DCU. But there were quite a few questions that came through. I see there's more coming in at the moment, but maybe just a few thematic areas we might touch on. First and foremost, obviously there are loads of events that you guys organize and arrange. How will students kind of learn about these? Are they available just on your website? When do the dates get announced? How can they make sure they're not missing out on attending any of these really important things?
Okay, well, basically, I suppose the platform itself. So I'd say go in when you arrive here, go into the careers website itself. You can get in through Loop. That's number one, and you'll see the jobs board. You'll see all the different online resources that are available there on the platform. But even apart from that, when we're having those events, and if we feel they're relevant to students, we email directly into students as well. So you'll get it through your email. So keep an eye on those emails. If you see things coming from the Career Service, there's also a weekly newsletter that goes out as well. Again, goes out through the email. We put in all our events that week. And again, everything that's coming up, if you just keep an eye on the Career Service weekly, everything we promote it weekly on the actual website itself. We also promote it now on LinkedIn generally, and we try to promote it on Instagram as well. So we're trying to keep up to date with where students are tapping into in terms of the social media platform. So yeah, no, there definitely would be flagged. All of the things would be flagged. Yeah.
Great. That's fantastic. And I think it's a really good point as well for students to, again, make sure that they are accessing their DCU email once they start their program. A lot of that communication and a lot of the information will be sent directly to students. So I know it's another email address maybe to look after, but it's really important that you keep tabs on that and see what's coming through. Just as another point for the students, maybe your access to DCU Loop and the systems obviously happens after you register. So, you don't have access to that currently, but once you get registered and once you're enrolled at the university, you'll have access to all of the information that's included in Loop and there. I think the other thing too is also to keep in really close contact with your program chairs, particularly for those of you that are at the master's degree level as well too, and making sure that you're tapped into them as a resource for when these things may be happening. I suppose another question that kind of came through in the chat, Sandra, was really around maybe how to research salary ranges, or what is, how will students know what kind of salary to expect, and is it kind of checking those websites, kind of checking, you know, other job postings, maybe a little information on how the transparency around salaries works here and how students might know what they could expect?
Okay, well, if you're looking at graduate programs, okay, and depending on where you're at, or if you're just coming in maybe as an undergrad, you have a few years to wait. But if you're looking for graduate programs, you're looking generally around 25 to 30,000 euro. It's predominantly what they're offering. But that can change, so it might vary slightly. So we'd say in around 30,000 for the graduate roles, probably the same in and around with the entry-level roles. If you're coming in with a master's and you have experience and you're looking for those experienced professional roles, we would look at the Glassdoor.ie. If it's a really good one, just to kind of see what salary scales are out there. Again, like you just said, Bridget, looking at the jobs, going through the jobs, and just on LinkedIn, a lot of them do have salaries on them as well. So that gives you a good idea of where your salary is at. If you're coming in with a lot of experience, you're obviously, you know, be able to bring more to the table. You can hit the ground running. You're going to get paid a lot more. And certainly, and again, I just know from my end of things with the School of Computing and Engineering, highly sought after. All those technical skills are really, really key. So I would encourage you, look at those job sites that I have on the slide there. LinkedIn as well, just doing some research on LinkedIn. There's a lot of information on LinkedIn.
That's great. Yeah, no, exactly. I think that ties into that whole preparation piece and just making sure you have as much information as possible. I know there were a couple of messages as well, and kind of maybe around some of the logistical pieces, and I'm happy to kind of touch on this. But obviously, for those of you that are here on visas, there are restrictions in terms of working during your course and what you might be doing. So bear in mind that, again, you are entitled to work part-time during the term hours, or during the term time. So that's about 20 hours a week, up to 20 hours a week. Out of term and over the summer period, you can work 40 hours per week. But those limitations are set by the Immigration Service. So you need to make sure you're on top of what's being communicated there. And then obviously there's a lot of questions around the post-study work and trying to secure the Stamp 1G. Again, that's something that obviously comes up towards the end of your studies here at DCU, and we could probably do a whole webinar strictly on that. We won't go into the detail here on that, other than to say that obviously your interaction with the Immigration Service and what you do, again, is a personal thing. The university doesn't get involved in that. We provide you with information and support and the confirmation of your degree in order to pursue those things if you want to. But again, there's really good resources on the Irish government website and the Immigration Service around all of those permissions. So I would suggest that, again, you familiarize yourself both with that website as well as Citizens Advice, which also has really good information on immigration and visa statuses and things like that. So, so bear in mind, there will be more information about those things made available, but this was really just to kind of talk about the career services and the support that's there for you.
Sorry, Bridget. Sorry, but just to add to that as well, I just in terms of the international boot camp week that we have with careers, we invite ICOS in there, and they're like I say, we're not the experts on it. So, but they really handle a lot of questions there. So I definitely encourage you to tap into that one. It's a really, really useful, and students find it really useful every year. There's always a big attendance at it, so it's definitely worth attending. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, and they are they're another great organization and great resource for students. So so definitely make sure that you're kind of keeping up on information being sent through from them as well. I think there's been some questions here at the end, but I think a lot of them are kind of quite specific to, you know, a particular area of study, or how can I get jobs in this area or that area. And I think really the key is kind of what you mentioned, Sandra, and that, you know, the support is there for each of the faculties and each of the academic areas. And it can be so specific to a given course of study or sector that it's really important for you to link into those professionals who are working within that sector and can probably give you more bespoke or specific advice in terms of how to navigate that job search and you know, kind of make it a little bit easier for you. It's going to be kind of dependent on the sector and the course that you're going into. And correct me if I'm wrong, Sandra, but that's why you've set up the service as you have, so that there is expertise within those sectors.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And we are, like I say, we are linking in with employers all the time in the different sectors. So we're kind of keeping up to date with what's happening, what they're looking for. And equally then when you go to apply, that we kind of know how to tailor the CV. And that's really important about tailoring the CV or tailoring the application every time you're applying, just not sending out one CV across a network of companies. That's not going to work. It doesn't work. So it is about getting a bit of guidance around that and being able to, I think definitely if you have experience as well, I think definitely you need to tap into to see how to showcase that experience.
Absolutely. No, I think that's great. And I think there were a couple of questions as well around the part-time jobs and maybe the job board. And maybe you can share a little information as to if you know what students kind of seek out in terms of part-time jobs. Do those tend to be on campus or off campus? And is there any sort of guidance maybe for students in terms of that part-time work aspect?
Well, every year as well, we do a summer part-time jobs or whatever. Do you know the way that we'd run events in relation to that? And last year there would have been different camps and that sort of thing we brought on campus, and they advertised what they had in terms of roles. So not as much job time, they're more full-time roles that are on the jobs board. Yeah. But if there are certain companies coming in looking for, my experience with international students probably is maybe the retail sector or the hospitality sector generally is where they're picking up part-time roles. Mm-hmm. There have been some student ambassadors and all the rest across DCU as well, and they're all really good. Again, people getting involved, going back with and I know it's not necessarily paid work or whatever, but just getting involved in the clubs and societies as well, and building a network through all of those different areas is really, really important. But predominantly, I think with the part-time hours or the part-time work, people are working in the retail and the hospitality sector.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think that seems to be sort of a good place for students to be able to get that flexibility and you know, to have part-time work. And
to be fair, that's all students, you know, exactly. Irish students as well. That's where everybody pretty much is getting their part-time. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, you know, again, it is important to remember, particularly for those of you on master's degree students that master's degree programs, that it is a one-year program. It's an intensive program. Like academically, you have to make sure that you are spending time on your studies. And we see this happen sometimes with students who maybe get distracted with their part-time job, and all of a sudden the academics take a back seat, and then they're struggling in terms of finishing their degree, and that ultimately hurts their career aspirations in the end. So you want to make sure that you're balancing that quite carefully in terms of part-time work alongside your academics if you are going to do that. There are, as Sandra said, off-campus opportunities in sort of the hospitality and service industries. There are some on-campus opportunities. They're probably somewhat limited. We do, in the global recruitment team, have ambassadors. So if you're interested in working with us, we can do sort of some of those things. But it's just important to be realistic about what you can do in the part-time space as well, I think is fair to say.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Colleen, I don't know. I haven't had a chance to look at sort of any of the really last questions there. If there's anything else that you think thematic wise you'd like to address or talk about.
It was more so just about timing of applying for PPS numbers, and so quite a few questions about the PPS number. And so I don't know if you can share a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously everyone will need a PPS number in order to work. You need to provide that to your employer, and you can apply for that once you arrive in Ireland. So when you arrive, you'll need to make an appointment to secure a PPS number. So again, you need to understand that it isn't that you just arrive one day and you can start working the next. It will take you a little bit of time to get all of those things in order and then be able to work. So just bear that in mind in your planning, that it does take a little bit of time sometimes to work through those government agencies. Okay.
Perfect. And then I think we've covered everything else thematically with the questions.
Yeah, I will say there seems to be a lot of questions about other topics as well, and other things that we may have covered in previous webinars. So again, we do have the recordings of all the previous webinars, which you can go back and listen to. I'll put the link in chat here in a second, but there is a lot of detailed information there. Also, if you have specific questions about your own status or your own situation, the DCU email was provided earlier as well. You can always drop us a line, and we're happy to answer your questions specifically. We try to keep this one a little bit general, so it kind of addresses everyone's questions, if that's okay. So I'll turn it back over to you, Colleen, then to kind of wrap up.
Sure. Sandra, if you wouldn't mind just clicking over to the next slide, that's great. Thank you so much. So just to kind of tie into what Bridget was saying there. So there's been a few questions about, registration and getting settled here. And we do have some upcoming webinars that address those topics specifically. So highly recommend attending. So you would have gotten a link to register with the invitation to this webinar as well. So the next one is Thursday, August 10th, and we'll be going over course registration reminders and FAQs. So we'll have a representative from DCU Registry here speaking about how to register for classes and preparing for that entire process. And on Thursday, August 17th, as we get closer and closer to the start of the semester, we're going to have a webinar about preparing and planning for your arrival to DCU. So that will be an overview. We'll have one of our global ambassadors on the webinar as well, talking about, some tips and some personal reminders and advice on how to prepare and plan for your arrival. So highly recommend registering and attending those webinars. And as we mentioned, we do record all of our webinars, and they're available on our website. So if you want to go back and watch this one or any of our previous webinars that maybe you missed or want a kind of refresher, you can always find those on our website. And the link is on the screen, and I know Bridget is putting it in the chat as well. And the upcoming webinars will also be posted there too. So if you can't attend, you can always jump to our website and see those recordings there. And another way to keep up with us is to follow us on social media, especially leading up to the start of the next semester. You want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on our social media for some really helpful content about planning and preparing for arrival, some great engagement with some new students as well. It's a great place to kind of see and meet some newer students who are also joining DCU for the first time in September. So our Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook social handles are just on the screen there. So if you're not following us already, now is a great time to do so as you're planning to arrive at DCU. And so just wanted to wrap up by saying Gur Mahagath, which is thank you in Irish. So we want to thank you for your time here today, and a massive, massive thank you to Sandra for such a wonderful presentation and a great overview of the Career Services Department. So thank you so much, Sandra. And a massive thank you as well to Bridget for manning the chat and providing those thematic questions as well. And again, if you have specific questions that weren't addressed today or come up later, feel free to email us at DCU Global Recruitment, and we will be happy to address your questions or point you in the right direction here at DCU. And so thank you again for joining us. I know we have everyone logging in from all around the world, so happy for you to join us today. And we look forward to you joining our future webinars. And more importantly, we look forward to welcoming you to campus in September. Thank you.